This morning I'm off to the post office, the proper rainy one, but the walk is good for me. I'm posting pension documents. I was reading an article the other day that said that two-thirds or three-quarters of self-employed people aren't paying into a pension, which I'm not surprised. And a quarter, 30%, don't have any pension provision at all. So finally, I'm going to knock myself off those figures to a certain extent, because at least I will have something that I am in some way contributing to. But it's taken ages. The pension that I wanted, there weren't too many companies to choose from, and that helped. But you still have to go through the documentation, and I reckon on the two products I was looking at, we were looking at like 60 odd pages of information. A lot of it isn't relevant. It's like forecasts and things which are really difficult to project for 20 years. Most annoying thing was that you can't apply for any of them online. You have to do it by post. So I had to get my dad to print out all the documentation because obviously I'm away. Then I fill it out, and I wanted to do a lump sum for the first amount to kickstart it. And to do that you have to send a cheque. I haven't had a chequebook in 5 years. So I've now had to set it up with a monthly payment, and then once I'm up online, because after the initial application by post, you then get to manage the account online, and then I can make changes to the payments. So it's just been a massive ball ache, you know. Just the paper trail is just ridiculous, and yet you can open an account, a savings account or a current account, or do your car insurance online in seconds. Anyway, so I'm going to the post office to send that. Speaking of car insurance, the first email that popped into my inbox on New Year's Day morning. Here is your car insurance renewal quote. I'm currently insured with eSure. £157 more this year for the same policy. Ridiculous. So I went on to Money Saving Expert from our good friend Martin Lewis, and I used their comparison site to look for new quotes, because I'm not paying £157 more for the same blooming policy just because they want to put their prices up. And they do it in conjunction with Compare the Market. So I've gone in, I've put all the information in that is basically the policy I have now, did a comparison quote for a new quote. Cheapest quote is my own insurance company, and it's like £90 cheaper. It's still more than I was paying last year by about, I think, 70 quid. But it's a lot cheaper than just staying with the company. And it really annoys me because loyalty, if you stick with a company and do auto renew, they just ramp the prices up because they think you won't notice or that you won't be bothered to move. So I'm slightly ahead of my 30-day renewal period. So as I get closer, I'm going to cancel my renewal, and I'm going to reapply from scratch for the same insurance company. And I know my dad has done this before. And he's just cancelled the policy and renewed and started a new policy with the same company because they were cheaper. And it really, really annoys me that, you know, companies think that if you want to auto renew that you just won't bother to shop around. £157 more for the same policy. I mean, I hardly drive anywhere these days. I'm doing less than 4,000 miles a year now because I try and walk most places. And honestly, it's worth shopping around. It really is. The little comparison thing on the MSE website is really good. It's really simple. Much simpler than trying to take out a pension. But I'm hoping that once all this is in place, that's January's admin done, really. I don't have anything else coming up this month. So hopefully that's all going to plan. There was one other thing I was going to talk about, but I'd written something that I wanted to read out, and I'm walking. I've only got one hand free because I've got the umbrella in the other. But it was basically about we were watching the firework display on New Year's Eve on the TV. Me, mum and dad, we always sit there and switch on just as the bongs come on because we like to listen to Big Ben doing its thing. But then you get this ridiculous firework display. And this year was... I mean, every year for the last few years I felt more and more uncomfortable about it. It's very self-congratulatory. Aren't we doing well? And you can tell it's been put together by politicians who have no idea and just want to save face for the worldwide New Year's Eve celebrations. This year it was a place for everyone in London, which I thought was hilarious, given that London is incredibly expensive. For everyone, and the Mayor of London has done this. It's the Mayor of London that's crippling Londoners and people trying to get into and through London with their stupid ulez charges, and yet it's a place for everyone. And I looked at the millions of pounds worth going up in fireworks and thinking, I wonder how many NHS operations you could have done with that money. And it just feels so out of step with the way people feel. There's a very small percentage of people that will be genuinely celebrating the arrival of 2024. And it'll be those up the top, or those that aren't affected by the majority of the problems that are going on. But if you're further down the pecking order, as most of us are, there wasn't anything to celebrate. It was just a big pyrotechnic extravaganza, and the messages in it just didn't align. It was a little bit too woke for me. And I know that people will say, well, you can't just say Happy New Year and it's a load of old crap. You've got to put on a display, but it just seems so blatantly self-gratuitous from a political point of view, whilst having no foundation in reality. And I imagine there were probably all sorts of people sitting there watching it and being quite angry if they've been stuck on a waiting list for 3 years for an operation, if they can't afford to heat their homes, if they're skipping meals, if they can't buy their kids the school uniforms they need. And that's sad, and it just demonstrates that the powers that be, the people who make the decisions, I think it's a combination of they just don't understand, and a lot of doesn't matter, I won't be in power in a year's time or 4 years time or whatever it is that's coming up. We'll leave it for someone else to deal with. The problem being that no change of government is going to change the problems we have now. This is a long-term thing, and I think, like most economic problems, it just has to work itself out. But in the meantime, stay strong. We will stick together, and hopefully we will come through at the other end. So that's my thoughts for the day, short and sweet. I have other posts scheduled. I have my retrospective financial updates coming later this week. I have 3 of them, which I mostly recorded before I came away for Christmas because the numbers weren't going to change. And I really hope that you find it useful, particularly the food budget and how we take surveys and things like that. keep watching because there will be posts coming up, and then we'll be back to normal. And life goes on.